Embryonic stem cell research, genetic engineering, and human cloning. Description: embryonic stem cell research. Stem cells are cells in the body that can develop into different types of specialized cells. Under certain specialized conditions, they can become organ-specific cells and continuously divide through cell division. The hope with stem cell research is that it could possibly allow for a way to heal body parts that do not heal on their own when they are damaged, such as the spine. Embryonic stem cell research obtains these stem cells from embryos through in vitro fertilization, which is when reproduction occurs in an artificial setting such as a lab. More specifically, scientists allow a sperm and egg to meet, which thus begins the formation of the embryo. Description of genetic engineering. Genetic engineering is when DNA that is foreign to an organism is added into the organism so that the organism has new traits that it would normally not possess. For example, genetic engineering is done to many crops so that they would be resistant to certain microbes. Description of human cloning. Human cloning has not been conducted yet and is legal almost all around the world, yet cloning of other animals has occurred. For cloning to work, DNA must be removed from a somatic cell of the organism that is to be cloned, and then an egg from an organism of the same species must be obtained, and the DNA from the egg must be removed. Then the DNA from the somatic cell is inserted into the egg, and the egg is allowed to continue through the reproductive phases, eventually giving rise to a clone. Different viewpoints for embryonic stem cell research. People who support embryonic stem cell research cite that since stem cells can change to any organ-specific cell, they have the possibility to cure a variety of diseases that are incurable, such as paralysis. People against embryonic stem cell research cite that these cells are only obtained from embryos, and since many consider embryos already to be full humans, even though all their body parts are not developed, it is therefore murder to take the cells from the embryo, which will kill the embryo. Thus, another debate arises from embryonic stem cell research. Are embryos full humans? If one says yes to this question, that means they deem this research unethical. Different viewpoints of genetic engineering. People who support genetic engineering cite that genetic engineering allows crops and foods to be more resistant against disease, which allows for more food supply to provide to impoverished countries and peoples that are desperately in need of food. Genetic engineering can also be used to treat diseases. The people who are against genetic engineering cite that genetic engineering is messing with the normal evolution, as in genetic engineering, humans are manipulating the normal state of organisms to yield a desired trait. Different viewpoints of human cloning. According to people who support human cloning, through the process, scientists can gather a lot of information about organ repair and formation, and hopefully develop medicines and treatments that can aid the problems that are currently untreatable today. The people who do not support human cloning state that it reduces genetic diversity due to copies, and that it is unethical for people to mess with nature, since cloning is technically the manipulation of human genome. Also, some people do not support artificial births as well, and since the clone would be an artificial birth, these people do not support human cloning. Ethical dilemmas of embryonic stem cell research. One of the major ethical dilemmas presented by this type of research is that cells obtained from this research are obtained from embryos. When the cells are taken from the embryo is killed, and therefore many see this research as immoral, especially those who state that embryos are considered human beings. In this case, according to these people, for this a human being must be murdered, which is simply incorrect. Ethical denials of genetic engineering. Genetic engineering allows for one to manipulate genes unnaturally, which some see as interfering with the way of nature of God, and thus are against this type of genetic engineering. If genetic engineering ever becomes sophisticated enough one day, the traits of future humans can be decided before birth, which some also consider unethical, as many believe that these traits are supposed to be arise through natural birth. Ethical dilemmas of human cloning. Many who support natural birth are against human cloning, as human clones will be born through unnatural births. Also, human cloning decreases the variety of genetic combinations of the human genome, as a clone is a genetic duplicate, and many are against this as well. As of present, human cloning is illegal almost all over the world. The Church's perspective: embryonic stem cell research. The Catholic Church is completely against embryonic stem cell research, as through this research, an embryo or a human being, according to the Church, is killed. This is the same mentality as seen in the Church's view of abortion, as anytime an embryo is killed, the fifth commandment, which states that killing is not allowed, is violated here. The Church's perspective: genetic engineering. The Catholic Church does not oppose genetic engineering when it is being performed on non-human items such as crops. Genetic engineering crops can make it survive longer and healthier, which could reduce world hunger. On the other hand, if genetic engineering is into humans, traits could be selected in babies. The Church is against this, and as the Church supports natural births. If genetic engineering uses embryonic cells, the Church is against this as well. It's like embryonic stem cells, the Church is against killing an unborn child. The church's perspective of human cloning. According to the church, the human cloning, human DNA is lost as the beauty of creating a new baby is replaced with artificially copying someone's DNA. Also, the mother of a clone just becomes a vessel of science, making her elaborate according to church, so she loses human dignity as well. Through human cloning, the uniqueness of an individual is removed, and thus this is wrong according to the church. Addressing the issues. Stem cell research in itself, it promises a great future. There's a potential to cure paralysis and Alzheimer's. The only major problem is embryonic stem cell research, as the stem cells obtained from researchers are obtained from embryos which were then killed. While many scientists use embryonic stem cells and state that they are valuable for research, stem cells should be obtained from a different source from the body. While it may be more difficult to obtain stem cells this way, no embryos will die. The stem cell research will become ethical. Genetic engineering in the modern world is mainly ethical, as it is mostly performed on crops. Genetic engineering should never be performed on humans, though, as it becomes unethical. Human cloning is already banned almost all over the world and should continue to be banned all over the world. The drawbacks outweigh the benefits.
Eight 318-7884. This is Catholic Answers Live.
We've returned to this very important edition of Catholic Answers Live. Tim Staples, the Director of Apologetics and Evangelization, will join us for the whole 2 hours today. We have to unpack an awful lot of material in a short amount of time and get to your calls. We're talking about his latest teaching set. It's 2 CDs, 5 non-negotiables. We've covered the first 2 already, abortion and euthanasia. Embryonic stem cell research. Bad or good? If not, why?
You know, it's bad, and there's a lot of misconceptions out there. How many times do I hear on the news the Catholic Church is against stem cell research? I hear it everywhere, and of course that's not true. The Catholic Church is not against stem cell research. It's against specifically embryonic stem cell research, which involves necessarily the destruction of the human being that you're taking the stem cells from. Adult stem cells, which, as my friend Father Tad Paholchik has been on this broadcast and has pointed out, adult stem cells have been successful in scores of cures now. I know it's up over 80 cures now. I don't have the exact number, whereas embryonic stem cell research has resulted in nothing but the death of those embryos. They're very problematic in using for any sort of medical purposes, and so, you know, but perhaps that's somewhat of a moot point, because even if it were successful, it doesn't matter. You don't kill somebody, an innocent person, in order to save someone. But the facts are facts. You know, they don't work, and it just reminds us that there's something deeper going on here.
So a stem cell per se is a kind of a cell normally seen, or naturally seen, I should say, in a preborn, say a fetus or a zygote, that can morph into other kinds of cells.
That's
and
right.
Yet we can gather them from adults, in which their real potency is clear and, as you say, successful in treating diseases.
Right. Exactly.
But so we should be praying and funding as much money in that direction as we can.
But the scary thing, though, here, Patrick, is experimenting on human embryos. If you would have done this 60 years ago, you would have been in the same league with the Nazis.
It's going to have the name,
You know,
Dr. Joseph Mengele came to mind.
Exactly. And yet today it has become acceptable, and you and I, who voice our opinion and say, hey, this is wrong, we're the ones who are falling under the caricature that's presented in the media as people who just want people with Parkinson's to die. We don't want them healed and this or that. I mean, that's the way the argument sort of is presented in the popular media. We have to get back to first principles again and help people to understand what we all know to be true, that we're talking about a human being here. I cannot just willy-nilly say, Patrick Coffin, you know what? You've enjoyed a good life here, pal. We need your heart. So could you just come over here and lay down? We're going to snatch it out of your body.
Doesn't hurt. It takes no time at all.
You know, I mean, But we don't think of it that way, and we're not allowed to think of it that way because we are systematically being lied to in the popular media about what exactly we're talking about when we talk about embryonic stem cell research. We're talking about killing human beings. You cannot kill innocent people, even to save people.
That gets clearly shown in the selective way that commercials are filmed with celebrities. I'm thinking about the late Christopher Reeve and
Yes.
Michael J. Fox, and God bless them and keep them. And well, obviously Christopher Reeve we pray for, but they don't mention that you're killing Peter to save Paul here. It's all kind of put under the umbrella of stem cell research, and they don't make that critical distinction.